Habari gani, karibuni. I am so sorry I am late. I was trying to find a place that had a good connection and some outlets. Please let me know if you can hear me, if you're out there. Bear with me. We are late by about 13 minutes, so we're going to have 45 minutes of our session instead of the usual 1 hour session. So please forgive me for that, but I will do the best I can to cover the subject in the 45 minutes that we have. Hold on, I just want to confirm that we are up on Twitter. Yes, I see we are up. Please share, because this is about making this knowledge accessible and reaching as many Africans as possible. In a way where they can access without having to worry about whether they can afford or not. So just in the comments, please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly. I am in a public space where I can't be too loud or as loud as usual. So just let me know if you can hear me clearly. A thumbs up or ndio or yes will be very helpful if you can hear me. So this is going to be, and just bear with me, let me just pull up my notes. And just transfer some notes from the other side. Yes. So Kumbukeni has decided to do a political history, civics, and social education to help our brothers and sisters decolonize their minds. I am basically using the books that I have used for myself to decolonize mentally. So in the last 4 years, the books that were recommended to me that I read that helped me make sense of everything is what I will be using for this course. It's a 6-month course because there's so much to talk about. I mean, we could go longer than 6 months, but it's a 6-month course. It's open to the public, but we do have, and hopefully I'll have time to share that before we go the link. We do have a Google classroom that we set up for those who want to connect with me in an intimate way. So I will be sharing that, and you can go ahead and register there if you want access to the notes, access to all the other resources that I will be using for the curriculum. You can join the Google Classroom, and you will be able to interact with myself and the rest of the community that joins that classroom in a more intimate way. So the sessions will be every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is New York time, for those of you who don't know what Eastern Standard Time is. And then that will be the lecture with me giving my thoughts and analyzing the subjects and materials that we have covered. And then on Mondays, we will be having a discussion forum on a Twitter space. We have it set up already. If you follow Kumbukeni on Twitter, at Kumbukeni, I'm not sure if it's one, but follow us on Twitter and you'll be able to, I'll share those links. And I think we shared the links as we were advertising the session for today. And you'll be able to attend the space on Mondays. Mondays is the space where we will have discussions. And what we will do in that space is we'll open it up to the public to come and share their thoughts about the reading and the different assignments that we have in the course. I say we, despite the fact that it's me here sitting, me who prepared the curriculum, but I say we because the knowledge I have acquired so far is not just through me. There are very many people who have mentored me, very many people who have been in interaction with me, who have inspired and given this knowledge and built my state of mind currently. You've seen a lot of them on Kumbukeni as guests. I have mentioned a lot of them. We will be reading from one of them who I respect very dearly, and Walter Rodney. So the knowledge I'm sharing is it's not my own. It is a knowledge that is shared amongst us. And what I'm doing is taking my experiences and looking at that knowledge and analyzing it based on my experiences, our experiences, and contemporary times. So that's what I'll be doing. And with the help of you during our Monday discussions, you can enrich that conversation by bringing your experiences into the conversation. So, yes, I'm looking forward to this engagement. It's going to be a very enlightening process. As we were working through the Kenyan Maandamano, which is the protests, the Kenyan movement, and even before that, I realized that a lot of our brothers and sisters are very mentally colonized. A lot of Africans at home, which is on the continent, they still think that the white man's ice is the coldest. Oh, what's the saying? Like they think the sun shines out of the behind of the white man. So we're trying to take that away so that we can realize that we are in a state of war and we need to take the stance of defending ourselves so that we can reclaim who we are, we can be liberated, and we can take ourselves from a position of subjugation and exploitation. So this week, or today at least, we're going to look at Walter Rodney's How Europe and the Developed Africa, pages 1 to 28. And in this discussion, we aim to deepen our understanding of Nsiya Ubuntu. Nsiya Ubuntu is what I am calling, or we are calling, Mbogi Ubuntu, Africa today. Africa is not our word, so we are taking our own languages. Nsi is Congolese, it means land. Ya is Kiubuntu, erroneously known as Kiswahili. And Ubuntu is from our brothers and sisters in Southern Africa. And therefore, combining all those three, because I am a Pan-Africanist, we have Nsiya Ubuntu, which is a new term for our continent, our motherland. So, and also I recommended, and if you follow us on Twitter, if you follow us on YouTube, if you follow us, and I encourage you all to follow us on LinkedIn, I will share that link, because on LinkedIn, the Kumbukeni page will require 150 followers to broadcast, and therefore we could use your help. I know there's 150, there's more than 150. Yesterday I was wearing my global majority sweatshirt. So we are the global majority, and I know we are millions. So to ask for 150 of you to go follow LinkedIn is not a heavy lift. So please go ahead and follow that link. I will share it so that we can. Habari gani ndugu Michael Bakosea. Habari gani. Good to see you here. So that we can go ahead and broadcast out of that. I'm currently on LinkedIn, I'm broadcasting out of my personal account, but we would like to build our Kumbukeni footprint as far as serving our community. So it would be nice to build that page. Okay, so page 1 to 28 is what we are looking at today of Walter Rodney's. But before we get into that, and now I need to get on my phone and move some notes I had there because I was doing putting some notes there as well as I was listening to Walter Rodney, Crisis in the Periphery, the YouTube video that I shared on our Twitter. You all should have the link, and if you don't, I will share it right now. So just bear with me as I get that. It is multitasking at its finest. So I might just look at my phone instead of moving because we might not be able to do that. So in the video, Walter Rodney, Crisis in the Periphery, I'm going to share the link right now. Let me just share this quickly. Copy, and please feel free to ask your questions as I continue today. Just because we have the discussion on Monday does not mean that I cannot answer questions today. So as I give the knowledge, as you receive it, as your mind starts connecting the dots, is what we're going to be doing, connecting the dots, right? So that we can solve this puzzle and find solutions for ourselves. Please feel free to ask any questions that come up in the chat and I will address them. So this is the video I'm referring to. This is a video that my colleague Milton Alimadi, who used to host Kumbukeni with me, has emphasized should be watched by everyone on Ubuntu before. Several times he said, Crisis in the Periphery. There is a space between the periphery and the website. So sorry about that. I didn't do that. There we go. Okay. So it was very interesting. And I do love listening to Walter Rodney because he amuses me. He amuses me because I can relate to what he's saying, but he also has a great sense of humor, and he uses humor a lot. You don't see it coming, but he's using humor. And if you're keen, you'll notice it. In the video, Walter Rodney, a prominent was a very prominent Guyanese historian and political activist who was murdered by Western entities who use our people to do their dirty work. And again, we are not claiming that our people are innocent, those who participated in the murder of our brother, but we're saying that they had people they were answering to. They're all guilty as charged. But yes, there were bigger entities, or at least more tentacles involved in this. The CIA is implicated. There is a current film that is showing, and those of you who want to see that film, you can follow the Walter Rodney Foundation to find out about it. I believe it's Walter Rodney, What They Don't Want You to Know is the film. If I have that wrong, someone please correct me. But it speaks to what he was doing, his murder, and those involved. So Rodney argues that the global economic system in the YouTube video is structured to benefit developed nations at the expense of the peripheral or developing countries. So basically, looking at a circle, the Western entities are in the center, and you all know who they are. And then we Africans are in the peripheral. Like, we don't matter. We are in the outskirts of society. In other words, as far as mattering starts in the center, the way it's been designed currently, society. And then the farther away from the center you are, the least important you are. And therefore, we are in the peripheral, the edges of that circle, and therefore the least important according to these people who have self-assigned themselves as the controllers of our being. He describes how colonialism and its modern successor, neocolonialism, have entrenched a system of exploitation where resources and wealth flow from the periphery. Again, the resources come from us all the way to the center. The process has led to underdevelopment. This is what he's talking about. This sucking, and a great way to think of this is a black hole. The center is the black hole, right? Now, this is our perspective. This is not their perspective. Our perspective is to look at this as a black hole that sucks everything from the periphery, which is us. And we must stop this black hole. We must clog it so that it stops sucking everything from the peripheral. So essentially, this book talks about the black hole of Western entities that sucks from, let's say, Ubuntu African nations. And the situation is made worse because we, Wana Ubuntu, have believed, this is now my addition to my analysis, is that we, Wana Ubuntu, have believed the lie that we had no civilization until the white man civilized us. And therefore, we always look up to the white man to continue civilizing us and never stop to realize that we were a civilized people before our motherland was invaded, and very much are capable of continuing to build on our civilization by ourselves and on our own terms. I have said several times, let's kick the white man out of Africa. And several times, my brothers and sisters have asked, how are we going to build? What are we going to do? What are we going to do without the US? Or if we kick France out, how are we going to continue, right? Because you all think that you're nothing without white people. You all think you're nothing without Nike. You all think you're nothing without Apple. You all think you're nothing without Facebook. The video explores Rodney's critique of the International Division of Labor. And it's interesting, given the books I have selected for this course, because this is also identified in Hajun Chang's 23 Things They Don't Tell You About Capitalism, where peripheral nations are relegated to producing raw materials for export, while importing finished goods from core nations, exacerbating economic disparities. So they get the resources from us, they manufacture them, and sometimes they manufacture them on our continent under their own names, and then they send them to us as finished products at very high cost. And Rodney advocates for a revolutionary change in the socioeconomic structures of peripheral countries, African Ubuntu countries, emphasizing the needs for self-reliance, socialism. He uses socialism at that time, but I believe that if he had lived longer, he would embrace communalism, which was our way. If I was in a room with him and I explained my argument for us to abandon the term socialism because it's Western and embrace communalism, which is our way, I am sure our brother would have supported that. Habari gani, Wanjiko? Good to see you too. So, and the rejection of neocolonial influences to achieve true development and liberation. Again, The Western culture, the Western way is not the answer for us. Um, I will go a step further, like I said, and than Walter Roddy and say that we had our own way to which we must return, the way of communalism, our way of Ubuntu. And I don't mean Ubuntu that Western entities have captured and co-opted. I mean Ubuntu in a true sense of African way. A couple of other things that I noted as I was listening to the video. So capitalism made Black people commodities. When I am speaking to Kenyans, or at least I've been speaking to Kenyans in the movement that is currently happening, and I explain to them that they have to abandon capitalism, and I am not compromising on this, and I've been called stubborn. I've been told I think I know everything. I do know quite a bit, which is why I'm hosting it, but I don't know everything, which is why I claim it's not my knowledge. But these are the attacks that capitalists or those who wish to hold up this system throw my way. But my argument is enslavement of Black people, the identifying of Black people, Africans, wana Ubuntu, as commodity, as in you are a book to be sold, like you are a bottle to be sold, you are a phone to be sold. We were part of that. We were items that could be taken, looked at, the quality, because they used to look at our eyes, right? Prodding and all that, and determine what your value was. That was us, and that was done by capitalism. So I do not understand why any African, knowing that, would then support this system that used to treat us in that way and not go back to our system of communalism. Walter also in this video tells a story. It's actually a joke he shares from Zambia, of a white engineer in Zambia. The engineer was South African working in Zambia. And it's interesting, so pay attention because I'll be going out and coming in, but it's all related. As I was reading this part of the white engineer, I paused and I went back to a book that I'm currently engaged in, the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And I encourage you all to read it. I think it's John Perkins, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He was an economic hitman. And that term, hitman, is very intentional. They used it very, very intentionally. So as I was hearing about this engineer and this joke that Walter Rodney, years ago in the 70s, he did this video, was speaking about, I was connecting the dots, connecting this to this CIA, NSA, covert, former covert individual who has now written a book to expose this system. And he talks about how they use engineers, construction workers to push their agenda in African nations and Southern American nations. So this took me there, that there was a South African white engineer in Zambia as he's telling this joke. So the joke is about a white South African engineer in Zambia, working in Zambia, who encounters a brother in Zambia from South Africa, Black. I may not call him a brother, encounters a Black South African in Zambia. And the Black South African tells the engineer that, oh, when you left, I was assigned prime minister. And the white engineer says to him, oh, where I come from, South Africa, that role is left for the Black man, you know? So Walter Rodney tells us to tell that there's several prime ministers in our Ubuntu, in our Black communities. But that role of prime minister, we all know, is a puppet role. It means nothing. And Raila Odinga is in Kenya, since this, we started this through the Kenyan movement. In Kenya, you have Raila Odinga, who, when he lost the election to unfair practices, was told by the white man, oh, don't worry, we'll give you prime minister. And he embraced it as if it was something. And we Kenyans embraced it as if it meant something, but it doesn't mean anything. So it was interesting how I was connecting the dots there. Then Walter also says that it's an illusion to think of the oil in Nigeria as Nigerian oil. When I heard him say this, and I've listened to this video several times, but every time I listen to it, like Milton told us it would happen, every time I listen to it, it connects to something new. So when I heard him speak of this, that we are out here talking about Nigerian oil and that it's an illusion, I immediately thought of Dangote. you've all been seeing, those of you who pay attention to what is happening in Nsia Ubuntu, Dangote invested, he's the richest African man, or at least that's what these people who like hierarchy and putting us in boxes and identifying us. So he has been determined to be the richest African man in the world. And he invested his money to build an oil refinery. And he has completed the refinery and is now at the stage where he needs to bring the oil so that they can refine. He's a Nigerian-born citizen, has all the rights to Nigeria and the resources in Nigeria. But when it came time for his refinery to get the oil, the Nigerian oil, he found out that the oil was not Nigerian. It apparently belongs to Western entities, and he has no right to it. And so this, Walter Rodney calls it an illusion, right? We are under the illusion that these resources are ours when they have already been sold to Western entities and belong to Western entities. And if we are going to operate under Western law, which is what we are operating on, because if we fight what those policies or regulations or agreements are, we're called criminal, we're called terrorists, and therefore we're going by their law. And so if we go along with their war, these resources are not, their laws, these resources are not ours. But it is time that we realize we must go against their laws, because their laws are intentionally designed to oppress us in order to liberate ourselves. It's just, I know it sounds radical, but it's simple math, people. 1 + 1 = 2. I remember in school we used to do math where the way they taught us math, there was x plus this equals that, or x divided by this equals that. And therefore you would do the equation and you'd figure out what x is. And therefore we have found out that x is Western law that keeps us oppressed. And in order to get our answer, we have to make the equation add up to give us the answer that we need. And if we are lacking in that formula, if we are lacking self-determination, and we understand that that's the thing that we need to make the formula, the answer right, we must then abandon this law that is preventing us from getting self-determination. I know a confusing analogy, and even myself, I'm not satisfied with it, but you get the gist. Walter also says that the capitalists, and let me, because I was doing this on audio, let me just quickly see what the notes say. Yes, so in the video, he also says capitalists are realizing that they bit more than they can chew as far as capitalism. And some of them are trying to figure out how to get out of it, but they still don't have solutions. And as he was speaking of that, again, I thought about John Perkins again and the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So this is someone who himself was an economic hitman, who himself was carrying out these policies and fake analysis of the economic state of underdeveloped nations, so that the West, so that the United States can continue exploiting them. Finally, is overcome by his conscience and decides to expose the system. So it's not that they don't know that they are exploiting, especially when they actually truly look at what they're doing. It's not that they don't know. It's that either they are allowing themselves to not be morally sound, or they think they have no control of the system and therefore can do nothing, or they are afraid of exposing the system, which Perkins speaks about in his book, and therefore allow that fear to control them. And the only thing that makes the difference between those people that I have identified and the man that wrote the book is, yes, you're fearful, but you have to choose that you don't want to be a part of this. First of all, you have to save humanity, and that you cannot allow your fear to control you. So that's it from the video. Let's go to I see now it's 10:38, so before we get to the hour, let's quickly go to the book so that we can cover as much as we can for today's lesson. And the subjects we're talking about today is the Walter Rodney stats, or rather is chapter 1, page 1 to 28 is what we are covering for this week. For those of you who have the book, chapter 1, and this is the version, the edition that I am reading. So chapter 1, pages 1 to 28 is what we are covering. Walter starts, and I like the way he writes books because if his book is saying how Europe underdeveloped Africa, he starts by defining what development is, and then also defining what underdevelopment is, and then makes his case throughout the books. So now that we've established what development is and what underdevelopment is, and I am claiming, this is Walter Rodney, I am claiming that Europe underdeveloped Africa. So now let me show you, now that you have an understanding of what those two terms mean, let me show you how they did that. And so he begins by distinguishing between development and underdevelopment. On page 3, he says development refers to the growth and improvement of a society's productive forces and social organization. Let me just go to the page quickly, sorry. He says a society develops economically as its members increase jointly their capacity for dealing with the environment. This capacity for dealing with the environment is dependent on the extent to which they understand the laws of nature, science, on the extent to which they put that understanding into practice by devising tools, technology, and on the manner in which work is organized. Just that paragraph will tell you that we were a civilized and developed society before the invasion of our motherland, because we did understand how to deal with our environment, right? We knew how to deal with our environment. And we knew that we needed to understand the laws of nature. We knew that we as Africans, our way of Ubuntu is very keen on that. And then we put that understanding into practice by devising tools, right? For example, we figured out how to devise the hoe, HOE, that helps us dig. It started by sharpening rocks to help us cut flesh if we were going to eat meat. And then on the manner in which work is organized. Who's going to take care of the garden? Who's going to take care of the hunting? Who's going to take care of the cooking? Who's going to take care of protecting the community? All that was done in our communities. And for us to think that white people came to civilize us, to develop us, when based on this description we were developed, we need to awaken, my brothers and sisters. And so that is page 3 for those of you who are going to be following through the book. He goes ahead to describe what underdevelopment is on page 15, where he says, I'm going to read the whole thing. Yes, exactly, Michael Bakusaya. Mathematics was created by us. Having discussed development, it is easier to comprehend the concept of underdevelopment. Obviously, underdevelopment is not absence of development. Again, for those of you, and I like that he says this, and the way to look at this is, some of you say, oh, but look at what we've done. Or look at what they've done. But what about the road? What about this? What about that? And you dismiss the main issue because you're looking at the little tokens that you've gotten. And you think that because of that small development, you're truly a development. You're not weighing it against the underdevelopment. You're not looking at the full picture to determine what state of Africa is, right? Given the full picture. So take the development that you're claiming, look at the underdevelopment, juxtapose them, and tell us whether we are in a place where we are progressing or we are stagnant. So obviously, underdevelopment is not absence of development, he says, because every people have developed in one way or another and to a greater or lesser extent. Underdevelopment makes sense only as a means of comparing levels of development. It is very much tied to the fact that human social development has been uneven, and from a strictly economic viewpoint, some human groups have advanced further by producing more and becoming more wealthy. And he argues that underdevelopment is a direct consequence of exploitation by European powers, leading to the stunted growth of Nsi Ubuntu societies. Again, I go back to my analogy of a black hole. When you think about it as a black hole, sucking everything from the outside, the periphery, based on his video that we shared, then you understand what underdevelopment is. If it's sucking, no matter how much you try to preserve some of the things in the periphery, it is still sucking the most and therefore underdeveloping us as Nsia Ubuntu. And then Walter also talks about in between page 1 and page 28, chapter 1 we are on, he talks about the misconceptions about Nsia Ubuntu's history, right? Rodney emphasizes that European colonizers and their historians have deliberately misrepresented African Nsia Ubuntu history to justify their exploitation. Again, Kumbukeni, we are reclaiming our narrative. Kumbukeni, we are decolonizing our minds. We are taking what the lies that they told us for centuries, Walter is saying, through their historians, through the colonizing government, through the media. Make no mistake that the media is a part of this. Through the church. Every Sunday in your sermon, and especially this is prevalent in Kenya for those of you in the Kenyan movement, the church has had a practice in the last decade of inviting politicians to come to church on Sunday and sell their message. So if you don't think that the church is a part of the exploitative system, please wake up, or I need to come to you and just slap you upside the head to wake you up, because I am done. The reason why I am so aggressive, the reason why I am so abrasive is because, and I'll explain something in a minute, I'll try not to be derailed, is because we're talking about life and death of our people, right? Life and death of people who look like me. And you all are telling me that the normal way of reacting to that is to be kind and give grace. And I'm calling bullshit on you all and saying that you are the ones who are crazy and I'm the normal one, because the normal way of reacting to that is aggression. The normal way of reacting to someone who is taking your life is violence, is fighting back. So again, look at yourselves in the mirror. You're the crazy one. I'm the normal one. Let's just get that straight. So I was recently accused, and this is not the first time that I have been called abrasive. And as I was talking to someone now who's no longer a friend because they cannot take that I am saying to them, I'm not compromising about destroying capitalism. I don't care what you all say. I'm not here to work as a team to maintain capitalism. I am destroying. If I have to be the only man standing saying that I'm taking down capitalism, I will be the only man standing. I have started to get comfortable with the idea of loneliness, honestly. And so I said to this person, because we are wana Ubuntu, we have cooked with the 3 stones, we have cooked with wood, and we have cooked where our sufurias, the pot that you're cooking with, blackens on the bottom because you're using wood and the soot sets on the bottom. To clean that pot, you need an abrasive item to take away the soot. Society is filled with Western culture soot. We are under Western laws, that's soot. We are exploited, soot, by Western entities. We are subjugated, soot, by Western entities. In order to confront that, in order to clean that sufuria of society, I'm gonna need to be abrasive. I don't know why y'all are not as abrasive as I am. That's the big question. Why aren't you all as abrasive as I am? So, he says that the myth that Africa, Nsia Ubuntu, was a dark continent, he points it out because it's been known that when you look at the media back then, the videos, look for them on internet. And if you want, you can go put in quotes on Google or on YouTube, dark continent, and you will get videos speaking to this. The myth that Africa was a dark continent with no history or culture before European contact is a tool used to legitimize colonialism. And it is unfortunate that this legitimization is used by people who look like you and me. I have seen it on LinkedIn where you have foolish, and yes, they are foolish. I am seriously not in a position right now to be catering to your sensitivities, wana Ubuntu, and your fragility. No. Again, life and death. Feel bad. You're supposed to feel bad. Feel hurt by my words. You're supposed to feel hurt by my words. You're not supposed to feel good from what I'm saying. You're supposed to feel pain so that that pain can awaken you, because what you're doing is wrong. So this idea that we are a dark continent is used to legitimize colonialism, because then they can say they came to whitenize us, right? Civilize us, take us away from darkness. Walter also talks about Nsi Ubuntu's wealth before European contact, and he points it out in the book. Again, this is the book. If you want to get access to the resources, please, again, I will share the link. I will remember quickly. I see it's 10:49. I am running out at 11 because we have Mama Kenyisile's closed session with those of you who have pre-purchased the book. So I'll be dashing out. If I forget, please follow us, follow Kumbukeni on LinkedIn. Again, we need 150 followers so that we can start broadcasting out of there. Follow us on Twitter, and I will post all the links from today there if I forget to post them today. And a way for you to join the Google Classroom so that you have access to the resources that I'll be using. Before the arrival of the Europeans, Walter points out that Nsi Ubuntu had its own systems of economic, political, and social organization. Africa was rich in natural resources, including gold, ivory, and other valuable commodities. The continent had established trade routes and engaged in commerce with other parts of the world, including Asia and the Middle East. I mean, and maybe it's because I've taken 4 years to read these books, to focus on re-educating myself, because I was miseducated by Western education. Maybe it's because I have this position where I'm questioning. How do you not see it, my brothers and sisters? How do you not see it? I'm standing here like on the edge saying, how do you not see that snake, right? How do you not see that thing that is harming us? It's coming, it's eating us up, and I'm wondering why you all are not seeing it, and I'm the only one seeing it, or a few of us are seeing it. And so I say this to say that I am a Kamba, and even as I was growing up in a colonial Kenya, because I was born after so-called independence, colonialism had happened in Kenya when I was born. The influence of the infection of colonialism had already happened in Kenya when I was born. But even at that time, I was told that my people, the Akamba people, and I will share a YouTube channel that was shared with me by Baruti Katembo, who you've all seen in the chats before, and thank you to Baruti yesterday, that actually is this gentleman. He's a fellow Kamba, and he's putting out the knowledge that he has acquired about Akamba people. So if you want to learn about Akamba people, I encourage you all to follow his channel. I'm going to share it quickly now. And this is what happens when we are learning about different things. Again, connecting the dots. There's a lot being said, but it's all us. It's all one thing. That's okay, Armstrong. It will be every Friday. And the good thing is we are recording, so you don't have to worry. Let me just quickly get this channel for you all so that you can go and follow this brother, follow him and learn about the Akamba people. Let me see quickly how we can do this. Share, copy link, and I'll put it in the chat. Yes, there we go. Perfect. And his channel is called Asili Ngamani. For those of you who speak Kiubuntu, Asili is origin. So there, he talks about the Akamba people. But even I was taught growing up that we were long distance traders. We would travel from Ukambani. Those of you who've been to Kenya, you know that the drive from Ukambani to the coast is at least 5 hours. So we would walk that distance all the way to the coast to trade and walk back. So we were traders back then, right? Before we were invaded. And unfortunately, some of these trade routes is how we were invaded, because there's a story about a Kamba, and I am forgetting his name right now. Forgive me. For those Kambas who are listening, you can put his name in the chat. who is blamed for having brought the white man into the interior of Cumberland. There are such stories. So the white men and the Arabs tricked our people and got access to the interior through these trade routes. And therefore, for us to know this, and those Africans who say, why are you reading? Why do you need to learn history? This is why, because when we learn this, we learn who we truly are, and we start awakening so that we can stand in our own self-determination, right? And we can stop seeing the white man as the answer to everything. I'm quickly going to rush through here because now we have 7 minutes left. Walter also talks about the role of slavery in underdevelopment. He discusses the transatlantic slave trade as a primary mechanism through which Europe began to underdevelop and see Ubuntu. Again, I have said, capitalism, the mother of enslavement of our people. Why then would you, a descendant of enslaved Africans, of colonized Africans, support capitalism? I don't get it. I don't care what justification you have. I don't get it. And millions of our Ubuntu Africans are forcibly taken from their homes, leading to a loss of human resources and destabilizing Nsi Ubuntu society. I'm one such one Ubuntu. I received a message from my father 20-something years ago and said, you need to go to the embassy. Your uncle has found you a school in the United States. You have an appointment. The next day, showed up at the embassy, got my visa, came here because I was fortunate. I had a job, but they believed that if I came to the United States, I would make more money and therefore support my other 5 siblings. I am one of 6 siblings. So this is what happens. We don't come to the West because we love the West. I hate the winters. I hate the way you all interact in the West, where I'm like a tree growing. I think even we show more love to the trees. Like you just pass by me like I am a rock. Back at home, when I go home, I go to the rural area, back away from the city because the city is westernized. And I will tell you, I will take a walk to the town, from my house to the town. Once I hit the road where I'm meeting people, it is hello, hello this, hello that. Oh, where have you been? Oh, remind me again whose child you are. Everyone is saying hello. Everyone is recognizing each other. You do not walk in those streets back at home feeling alone. You feel like you're a part of a community because everyone is acknowledging it as you walk. That's not the same here in the West. And therefore, we do not come here because, at least I didn't come here because I thought this was the solution to everything. I came here because I was desperate, because the economy back at home is destroyed by the West. So he talks about the economic impact of colonialism. He explains that European colonization of Nsi Ubuntu was driven by the need for raw materials and new markets for European goods. Again, the free trade agreement, they bring their stuff and we are continuing to buy. And as we continue to go to their groceries, we have moved further and further away from our shamba, our garden. You see the picture behind me, the background? That's our garden back at home, my father's garden. He's planting there, those of you who can look, bananas, corn, sukuma, cabbage, and all that. We have moved from that and now would rather go to the grocery store. But at the grocery store, the items we're buying are coming from Brazil, are coming from US, are coming from China, everywhere but Nsi Ubuntu. And we think this is progress. He talks about the colonial economy was structured to benefit Europe, and when Ubuntu labor was exploited to extract raw materials, which were then exported to Europe for processing and manufacturing. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I say I don't even know why we need to do this, the education, because it's plain and simple in front of our eyes. So quickly, I have 3 minutes. I have to go. He talks about the destruction of indigenous industries. He talks about, again, in Kenya, for example, the textile industry has been destroyed, and now we buy textiles from China. He talks about colonial education and ideological control, the intentional way that we were taught so that we would be detached from our culture. He talks about political manipulation and divide and rule. You've all seen that tribalism right? The tactics of divide and rule. You create an elite system that you give access to this education, and they feel like they're better than the others, and they can subjugate them. They can help you subjugate them. He talks about long-term effects of colonialism and a call for a Pan-African response. So again, our chapter today, and quickly, because I am multitasking, let me quickly start the session for those who are going to be in Zoom with Mama Kanyisile, because it's 10:58. Just bear with me. If you have any questions, again, our discussion is going to be, hold on. Our discussion is going to be on Twitter on Monday. So please go to our Twitter and follow us, and you will see it there. Yes, it is Hoodwinked Progress, Ndugu Bakwesea. We will start on time next week on Friday. I am sorry that we were late. Thank you to all the 24 who came. I really want this to be an interactive session, and let's share and share and share and take away the ignorance. Let's take away the blinders. You're talking about Hoodwinked Progress, Bakwesea. Let's open up our brothers' eyes so that they can see what is truly happening, so that we can all take up arms and liberate ourselves. I thank you all. Asanteni, kwaherini, siku njema.